Hello and welcome back to the channel. Even though I'm going to be talking about Breonna Taylor and Candace Owens, the statement that Candace Owens made about Breonna Taylor, I'm also going to be talking about why I'm just a tad bit jealous of white people. And you'll understand why when I'm done with this video. As a matter of fact, as I get going, some of you will understand right away why I would make such a statement. Apparently, you have Candace Owens trying to link Breonna Taylor with being a drug dealer. Okay. She is very loose with her tongue in terms of analyzing black and white situations. She doesn't know how to restrain herself because somehow she believes that she fits into the right world, or should I say the white world. As I've stated in other videos, she will get her wake-up call at some point. Okay. But right now, for her to state that Breonna Taylor was a drug dealer, that is not fair. It is totally disrespectful. Breonna Taylor has lost her life. Now, I do understand that sometimes women make bad choices with the men that they date or even marry. Okay. That being said, when a black woman such as Candace Owens makes statements like that, it's almost as if in her mind she is adding some type of justification to the plate as to why Breonna Taylor is dead. Let's just say she was a drug dealer. Let's just say that she was at some point in her life. Does that mean that she needs to die? See, when people make statements like that, it's almost an implication that the people who did what they did to her are justified in doing it. Because after all, look at her lifestyle. You see, Candace Owens being a so-called black woman is just painfully bothersome to the fact that she doesn't sympathize with her community at all. Now, one thing that I can say for Kim Klacik, and she could be acting as well, I don't know at this point, but at least she is showing concern for her community, for so-called black people, and the way they live in her community. Whereas Candace Owens, she seems to be totally detached from anything happening in the black community, even denying the fact that racism exists. You see, both of them are married to white men, or at least attached to white men or white people, the white worlds. And so, there is always the big question mark about what sincerity they really truly have. But at least with Kim Klacik, she's walking through the hood. She's saying, look, I want this to be cleaned up. I want this to be better. Whereas Candace Owens, she's like, I'm out of the hood. I don't care what goes on in the hood, right? For her to stick her nose into this situation with Breonna Taylor and even utter that she was a drug dealer without knowing that for a fact, especially at the time of her death. Like I said, I don't know what her past was like, but for her to even utter that, it lends some type of justification in her mind to the reason why Breonna Taylor is dead. Okay. Now, let me tell you why I'm a little bit jealous of white people. And you're probably saying to yourself, what the heck does that have to do with the story of Breonna Taylor? Well, one thing that I notice about white people is that even if they don't support certain behaviors against or towards black people, they won't come against it either. It's kind of like a staying on code or sticking together no matter what. They may not agree with what happened to Breonna Taylor or Trayvon Martin or Tamir Rice and countless others. They may not agree with it. They may not personally do something like this, but neither are they going to come against it in any real sense of the word. Now, you have a very small handful who will do some things, right? But as a whole, the masses will not go against one another on behalf of so-called black people. In other words, they stick together. We don't understand the concept of sticking together, you see. And when I hear so-called black people say statements such as this, they'll say, we are all we got. We need to stick together. Black people need to come together. When I hear those statements, I'm like, are you looking around? Do you understand reality? Most of us can't even stand each other. So how the heck are we going to stick together? How the heck are we going to even come together and stick together? Right? And then the whole thing of we are all we got, I addressed that before. I said, if we are all we got, we are in trouble. We are in serious trouble. If this black person over here who can't even stand other black people, who don't even identify with the black community, is all we got, when you speak in general terms like that, we messed up. How can we depend on one another when we don't even know how to stay on a certain code like white folk do? They know how to stick together. You see, like I said, even if they may not participate in certain attitudes or behaviors, they don't come against it in any real sense of the word. So in that regard, I'm a little jealous of them, you see, because they understand what it means to keep the position that they have, whereas so-called black people, not so much. We will come against each other for the smallest, slightest thing. We will try to topple one another, try to destroy one another. But so-called white folk, they're going to keep that code intact, you see. And so I just thought I would chime in on this story of Candace Owens and how she, in my opinion, is being very disrespectful to Breonna Taylor in her death. She found a little bit of something that she can run with in the media, and she's totally omitting other information. So my thing is this: what makes you the authority, or who makes you the authority, Candace, on which story is right? Because she's saying the media is lying about this over here, whereas they're telling another story over here. So which one is the truth? And what makes her think that she can just pick one side and determine that that is the truth? That's basically what she's doing. Now, we know that the media really messes things up. Sometimes they'll flood the airways with misinformation. We know this. But how can she be so sure that the narrative that they're trying to put out there to demonize Breonna Taylor, how can she be so sure that that is the right narrative? She is so quick to jump on the bandwagon to try to make it seem as though what society is doing to and against black people is not that bad. She's trying to make it seem like we are the ones who put too much thought into this, and that it's no racism left in this country, and that we have a fair shot at everything because her life is a certain way. You see, regardless to how good any of us live, there is still the presence of white supremacy that is here to make sure that the so-called Negro knows their place. It is what it is. And for Candace Owens to take this attitude that we are all just putting it too much time and energy into racism or the subject of racism, she is delusional. Simple as that. This is a very real threat in this country. And the man that sits in the White House right now, he endorses this behavior. And so when she endorses Trump, she endorses that behavior too. You see, my only real reason for wanting Trump in office, or to just stay the course of what he's already doing, is because I understand biblical prophecy. I understand that perilous times are going to come, that they are actually already here, but they're going to continue and escalate, right? But her reasoning for wanting Trump in office is because she is a Republican and she thinks he's doing a wonderful job. That is awful. Anyone who thinks that he is doing a wonderful job and that he is not a national and an international embarrassment, I don't know what type of thinking that you have. I don't know what type of delusion you're under to think that he is doing a wonderful, amazing job as a president. When news commentators are calling him an imbecile, they're calling him a buffoon, they're calling him all kinds of things, and even other world leaders are allowing their communities to put up big floats with him in a big giant diaper and a pacifier in his mouth. He is the laughing stock of the world and have made this country the laughing stock of the world as well. But I believe that this is part of the man of sin being revealed. The scripture says that the man of sin will be revealed. And I'm not saying that he alone is the man of sin, but what he has done is helped to highlight the wickedness in the hearts of the people of Mystery Babylon. That's what he's done. He's caused a lot of things to bubble to the top, including people like Candace Owens, who believe that he is the right man to run this country. Candace Owens, Jesse Peterson, Larry Elder, and just countless other so-called black people, even those twins, I forget what their names are. They didn't even used to talk about political things as much as they are now, but they have put on this political cap. What are their names? They have the blue eyes. They're twins. They're light complected or whatever. Anyway, they've put their political hats on as well, and they support all of this foolishness we see. And they think the so-called black people are out of their minds for thinking that there's any type of racism that exists in this country. So, again, those are some of the things that make me a little bit jealous of white people, the fact that they can stick together and stay on code. Even if they don't support everything, they will not go against a system that is in favor of them. Where so-called black people, they will go against each other for the smallest thing. We cannot stick together as a people. And when I hear folks saying that we are all we got and that we all need to come together and do this, that, and the other, you can't come together with a house divided against itself. The scripture already tells us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. So that means it's going to fall. That is what you see in the black community. We have fallen as a people because we are a house divided. Candace Owens, she's a part of that house, right? Because she's a so-called black woman. Larry Elder, Jesse Peterson, and countless others, they are a part of this house. But they represent the fallen portion as well. When you see those on the streets killing one another, they are part of the fall. When you see those who fight and bicker, lie on one another, deceive one another, mistreat one another, that is the divided house of Israel. You see, this is why we can't stand. This is why these other nations are standing together, because they have a code and they stick by it. I'm done with this video, y'all. I hope y'all understand where I was coming from in all that I said. But Candace Owens, I'm sorry. She's a clown too, okay? She is a clown who has tricked her own mind into thinking that she fits in to a society that can't stand black people. For her to believe that she's in there and she has a rock solid foundation on which to stand, she herself is a clown. I'm done with this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, share and like this video. And with that, I am out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.